right. Welcome to Metal Mastermind, everybody. My name is Ken Candelas, and I am joined by the one and only Jason Stallworth.
Yep, we are here.
Welcome, everybody.
What's up, guys?
So, Jason, how have you been, brother?
Dude, it's been a busy week this week. It's been crazy. But I had a little burst of energy this morning. I was in the gym, and usually I watch some other motivational stuff and stuff related to business. But I flipped the switch and I started watching some YouTube metal videos, some Amon Amarth and Arch Enemy.
Nice.
And I just got this like overwhelming sense of just coolness is the only way I can describe it. But yeah, I was in the specific video I ended with was Arch Enemy's "The World Is Yours" off their latest album. So
I
I
love
was
that
like,
song.
man, this is freaking awesome. So how's your week been so far, man?
It's been great, last week we talked about subgenres and all this kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
You talked about Amon Amarth and Viking metal and all this kind of
Viking
stuff.
metal.
Yeah, man, nothing like it. Really nothing like it. So, my week has been chock full of, like reflection and progression in my own kind of journeys and stuff like that. So, I've been very much more focused this week. Feeling very good about the productivity that's been going on. So, this has got to be probably one of the most important videos that we make on Metal Mastermind, because what are we talking about today, Jason?
Dude, we are talking about advice for metal musicians during a pandemic such as what we have going on right now. And
Yeah.
just to preface this, guys, we're not going to really talk about the pandemic itself. We're not going to get into all that because you guys get that. We're not a news station or anything like that. But what we want to do is kind of give you a little bit probably different perspective in certain areas that maybe you haven't thought about or haven't got. There will be some basic stuff in here that you'll be like, okay, well, I get that. I already do that. But I think there's going to be some golden nuggets in here for all of you watching this, that you're going to pull something, maybe one or two things out of this episode. You're like, oh crap. Yeah, I'm going to start doing that, and I think it's just going to help push you even further into where you want to be. So, yeah, this is going to get kind of deep. It will get a little deep, but
it has to.
Yeah.
This is a really important time, obviously, in human history. Last time there was anything like this was 1917 Spanish flu, which, by the way, didn't originate. Dude. It didn't originate in Spain. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
It originated in Kansas.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
We're not in Kansas anymore. And what my understanding is that it grew bad. It spread across the world and kind of really took on a force over in Spain. And there was a whole bunch of political stuff happening at the time, so they kind of associated it with the flu, and so they called it the Spanish flu, and that's where it got the name from. But what we got today going on with our current situation with the pandemic, it's nothing's really been like it, because now the world is a lot more global, right? So everybody's really affected, and that includes musicians. Obviously, hey guys, I'm a live sound engineer, and guess what I'm doing? Not live sound right now. It's
that's true.
It is detrimental to people's lifestyles.
A lot of people.
You and I know that. I'm friends with one of my own heroes, which is, Michael Romeo. I've talked to him on this subject quite a minute.
Symphony X, dude. I can't believe you know Michael, that you're good friends with Michael. Well, you guys know Symphony X, obviously. So
yeah. I met his guitar
amazing,
tech
man.
on tour, and we were like bros the moment we met. And he introduced me to Mike, and just been kind of friends ever since. And one thing I could say about Mike is, he's a true composer. He's always working on his music. I love that about him.
Beautiful music too, man.
He's got and he's just like he knows what the situation's doing to many musicians out there. He feels horrible about it, and he's just like, I was like, I told him, I said, hey Mike, if you ever need any help with anything, he was like, yeah, can you open up a venue? I'm like, oh, if I owned one, I'm sure I'd bring you along, but I don't have that kind of
Yeah.
power. So, but yeah, it's quite unfortunate. He was making, that was his
That was his
biggest
gig,
part of
man. I
his
mean,
thing. It was doing live shows, going to Brazil, going to Europe,
yeah.
going to all these places and making shows. So it's like, well, how do we do it now? It's like, oh my God, everything's kind of flipped on its end. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the structure of the music industry within the pandemic and what can you do about it, right?
Yeah.
Because now we have more time than ever, and it's super important to really, one, I think, reflect about what it is that you really want to do, because you have this time, especially for those who have been either laid off or furloughed. You know,
Yeah.
my brother himself, he's not much of a musician, but he was been working in the movie theater industry ever since he started his first
Oh wow,
job,
dude.
and
That was big time impacted. Yeah.
and now he's like, I don't think I want to do movie theaters anymore. I'm like, wow, like that's a big thing coming from my brother who's been doing it for like
It's
almost
huge.
20 years. So, yeah, people, you have to figure out, because now more, even louder than ever, so to speak, our inner voice has been coming out because we have so much more time to ourselves. So, first thing is your health, right?
Yeah.
Jason,
Huge.
what are we talking about when we talk about these?
So, and I'll tell you guys, we're going to give you 6 points. Am I holding up the right amount of fingers here? I can't count sometimes. 6. We're going to give you
Yeah.
6 points that we want to talk about. We feel is really important. Again, I think you guys are getting a lot of value out of this. So just hang in here with us for the entire session. Real quick, give this a thumbs up, please. That helps our algorithm. And if you don't mind, just clicking the share button and just real quick, just sharing it on your Facebook. Hey, join these two crazy metalheads live with me right now. That'll just help us. So we're going to talk about 6 things. The first 2 are going to have more to do with your mental state, and that's going to be crucial. And then the last 4, we're going to really get into the music aspect of it. So I just kind of want to give you guys a forefront there. So when we talk about health, we're talking about physical and mental health during this time. So one thing I want to say is, Ken mentioned right now we have time. A lot of us do. A lot of you do if you gotten furloughed or laid off or whatever. Let me just say this: time is the greatest commodity you can have.
Yeah.
They're not making more of it.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't go back and say, hey, I want some more time. Doesn't work like that. You
Yeah.
can you can go make more money if you're creative and go do something else, or find ways. I know that's challenging at times, but you can't get more time back. So time is a precious commodity. So here's the thing about during the pandemic, though, I want to talk about, physical and mental health. One thing I will say, guys, is please exercise as much as you possibly can. At least do something active every single day. You guys know I love the gym. I love to lift weights. It's something I've done since I was a kid. I started lifting at 14, 15, around the same time I started playing guitar. Uh, I love doing that. I'm not saying you guys have to go lift weights. I would love for you to if you don't, but some of you may like to run. Some of you may like to do some sort of kickboxing or something like that. Anything that you can do, though, that's going to keep you active, I really challenge you guys to stay up with that. I know Faceless is on here, and I know he's very active as well, because we've had chats, and I know so he's already on that page. But anyone watching this, though, stay active as much as you possibly can. Do something active every single day. And I also want to kind of go into the mental side of that. Is your mental health is important too. I know, Ken, you meditate. For
Mhm.
my mental state of being, I do yoga once, sometimes twice a day, and some deep stretching. And I also practice deep breathing exercises, which
Mhm.
kind of, if you breathe in deep through your nose, hold it for about 5, 6 seconds, and then slowly breathe out through your nose. I know it sounds crazy simple, and I didn't really think this worked. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. This is some weird Zen stuff. But since I've started doing this, I've just noticed so many inner changes within myself. I'm able to focus a little bit better. I'm able to sit down for 2, 3 hours and just knock something out. Whereas before I'd have to get up like every 20 minutes. So these little things that you can do while you have the time, and even if you're still working, even if you're working a full-time job, I challenge you to make that time for these things, because when when we're working every day, a lot of times we come home from work and we'll chill out in front of Netflix or whatever. Audit your time though, guys. Audit your time, and you will be surprised how much time you can spend, doing these types of things to keep your physical and mental state of being, up to speed. And then, of course, that another thing we want to talk about, and Ken, I want you to jump right into this, man, because I think this might be a little controversial what we're gonna go into here next.
Mhm.
But I know we're talking about respect for others here, so I'll let you kick it off with that one, man.
Sure. Well, let me just give a disclaimer that I live in New York. Okay. Um, what's happened in New York in the beginning of this pandemic was horrendous. Okay, and to be honest, I was in the worst zone in New York for this to happen. All right, I'm nearby LaGuardia Airport. And LaGuardia Airport, there's a lot of traffic around the world that comes to that airport. So we have had the worst outbreak, and masks was a no-brainer for New Yorkers. That's not the same for everybody else around the country, and I understand that people have their own thoughts about masks, and in my opinion, it shouldn't be very much politicized. But what I'm going to say is this: if you choose not to wear a mask, right? I think it's a disrespect to others being nearby. However, if you firmly believe that it's because it's your right as an American, not to wear a mask, then stay away from others. That's all I got to say. So just respect the situation. Okay? Not everybody has to necessarily get along, but we have to respect that this is not a normal time in human history. This is not like how it was a year ago, going to Walmart to get groceries or any of that stuff, right? There is a situation at hand, and if you cannot respect your neighbor, you shouldn't expect them to respect you either. And that's really all I have to say about it. And, if you're getting into fights because of it, there's probably a reason for it. And people are passionate about doing it, doing the mask thing. Some people are very passionate about not doing the mask thing. Um, we're not here to judge any of you in that regard. I think it's, Jason and I have been very fortunate to have an audience like yourself who's very in sync with our philosophies and stuff like that. That's why you're here, right? That's why we attend Mental Mastermind to begin with, and we love you for that. Just be a good dude, and
Just be a good dude.
just be a good dude. And
Or
look,
do
just if you're not going to wear the mask, fine. Just do this social distancing thing, and keep to yourself and those around you, your closest family, if you live with your family, right? So that's all I have to say about it.
Let me just add real quick. You guys know I have a wife from Thailand. She was born in Thailand. She's half Thai. And so we're really in sync with not only the Thai culture, but Asian culture. And in traveling over there, not recently, obviously, but one thing about the Asian culture in general is a lot of them, especially in Japan, they were wearing masks way before this whole thing ever broke out because of pollution and because they already knew that it protected them for certain ailments and such, certain
Yeah.
sicknesses and such. So they're already doing that. And then when this whole thing broke out, Thailand immediately started wearing masks, and there was no controversy. It wasn't a political thing. It's just, hey, this is the thing that the experts, because we're not experts, that the scientists, because we're not scientists, and doctors, and most of us aren't doctors, recommend that we do. So they just started doing it. It wasn't an issue. I think here in America, and I know not all of you guys watching this are from the states. Your country may be a little bit different, but here in America, things tend to get politicized quite frequently. It's almost like everything becomes a left versus right issue here. So
Right.
we have that to battle on top of that. But I just want to kind of make that point. And in other countries, it's like, you know what, this is what we're supposed to do. Let's just do it. And even if you're on the side that doesn't think that this is necessary. I know some people think that we're pushing it too far. I personally don't think we are, but that's just my thoughts. That's just my opinion. I'm not an expert. I have nothing to base it on, but I would rather follow the advice of the experts instead of trying to take it in my own hands. But Ken, we started this out talking about respect. This is point number two, respect for others. Respect for others is enough for me, even if I didn't agree with the whole mask thing, which I do agree with it. But even if I didn't, having the respect for other people and those around me is enough for me to wear it anyway. So that's just my 2 cents on it. If you happen to be on that side of the fence. So
Yeah.
hopefully that makes sense.
It to me it becomes more apparent when, for example, there is a business that requires you to wear the mask upon entry. Just do it. It's like, because no one's trying to convince you that this is all a conspiracy or anything. Look, there, just wear the mask while you're indoors.
Yeah.
If you want to wear it off outside, fine, but like indoors is where you're more susceptible to the virus. So just follow those guidelines, and just pay that respect. I don't know if there's much really more to really speak about this issue, because I think you and I have made our case about this, Jason, and people will always have different thoughts. So we're not here
That's
to
okay.
we're not here to debate who's right and who's wrong. Just
It's about respect.
respect your
That's all it is.
fellow citizen and do your part, and we'll get through it together. And with that being said, how the virus has affected us outside of physical health, right? And you mentioned meditation and mental health. Really important to stay very conscious about your well-being, your mental well-being. And how do you do that? Well, there's a thing called intuition, and intuition is like your gut feeling. It's that thing that's inside you, the voice in your head, right? That's intuition. And intuition is really, really powerful because it influences us how we make our decisions throughout life, right? If you meet somebody and you kind of get a bad vibe, that's intuition telling you, right? Hey, this person is not so good, or this person's great, That's the little voice inside your head. And it's so powerful that when you are alone with your thoughts, you'd be astounded how much it's running. It's like rapid fire all the time. I forget the exact number, but it's like thousands of thoughts come across her head every day. And it's like that kind of brain power, like you'd expect it to run a electric power plant, but it's not. It's just all up in your skull. So one of the things that I found that really helped me as a musician is to dedicate a portion of my day. Now, I decide to dedicate 30 minutes. You don't have to do 30 minutes. You could do 5, 10, 15, however long you can bear with it. And the point of it is not to be like totally like zen, hum. No one hears Buddha, but the point is to just bring a little bit more of awareness to your thoughts and to recognize what patterns do you see, where do they lead you, right? What's the direction of your mentality? And that's it. It's to see where it's going, because once you are sort of getting this sort of third eye, outside observer type of view on your own thoughts, you start to feel a little bit more connected to every decision that you make. And what happens, therefore, is you become a little bit more aware of your time and how you use it, right? Which leads us to our next point, which is time management. And time management during the pandemic is more important than ever, because now some people have way too much time. They don't know how to use that time. And so we end up wasting that time, right? So as a musician, right? When we cannot play any live shows, right? How do we make it our mission to do our music even during a time like this? Jason, what are your thoughts?
You know, it's an awesome time actually for getting better at your craft, for being more creative. And one thing I will say is, you know, we've been talking about time this whole time practically, if you think about it, because that's kind
Yep.
of what a lot of us have been granted extra time. And you guys, some of you guys know my story. I actually walked away from my corporate job of 14 years. You know, I had a nice, cushy little corporate job up until the end of January, and that was before this whole pandemic hit. And I had an opportunity there to take some time away and pursue what I really want to pursue full time. So I was already kind of blessed with that time that that I bestowed upon myself before this thing hit. Of course, that impacted some other things as well when the pandemic hit, when they started shutting things down. It impacted everyone. But the thing about time, I'll tell you guys, is treat it like a job. Treat your time like a job, and meaning if you have to be at work at, let's say, 9 a.m., you're probably not going to be favored if you show up at 9:05 or 9:30 or whatever, right? And you have to perform certain tasks during that time to get paid. Treat yourself the same way. Make yourself a schedule. Just like you have a schedule at work, probably you have certain things that have to get done at certain times. Maybe you have a conference call at 2 o'clock. God, I don't miss those damn things. Or maybe you have to do whatever. Maybe you have to go make a run for the company and go get supplies, whatever it may be. You've got certain tasks that have to be done at certain times. If you don't perform those tasks, and if you don't perform them well, you don't get paid. So treat your music the same way. Every one of you in here watching this, and those of you who watch this later, if you're this far into it, you want to do something more with your music. To what extent, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. You want to be more than just a person that plays an instrument in your bedroom and it never goes anywhere. And there's nothing wrong with that if you just do that as a hobby, but you're in the Metal Mastermind family here because you want to take it to the next level, whatever that level may be. So treat your time with your music as a job. So schedule things. My wife bought me a calendar. I use that calendar to write stuff down each day. Here's the major things I have to do today. These are the must wins. I must get this done today or I don't go to sleep. All right. Schedule your practice time. Have that in your schedule as well. If it's going to be every night at 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., make that your practice time. Maybe you're a morning person. You want to practice at 5 a.m. in the morning, as long as you're not waking people up. But hey, set that time aside. Or maybe you practice 3 to 4 times a week. Maybe you don't do it every single day, but as long as you have a structured schedule, schedule writing and recording time. Schedule that time. What I will say this about time management and being a musician, a lot of us musicians, we like to think, because we are creative, we use that side of our brain. We like to think, well, we just have to wait for that musical idea to be bestowed upon us magically. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes you get an idea and you say, you know what, let me drop everything and go put this down. I don't want to forget it. But don't always wait for that to happen before you do something. If you have that time scheduled, and maybe you have a creative time scheduled, okay, this is my writing and recording time from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Even if nothing's really coming to you, just start playing something, just start taking action, and it will come. But it's very important, guys. It's crucial that we schedule that time and that we remain structured so that we move that needle forward every second that we're working on these things.
Yeah,
Ken, anything to add to that,
absolutely.
dude?
Because it's no one's holding a gun to your head,
Yeah.
So the idea that I don't have to do this right now is so easy.
It's very easy.
It's
Yeah.
very easy just to say, do it later, right? Think about it this way for those of you who remember being in school, right? You get a paper and you have 3 weeks to do it.
Yeah.
When do you do it? The night before it's due. It's the same thing. And
I'm so guilty of that.
it's basically when something is due, like a paper. That fire that gets under your ass to make it happen because it's due makes it ever more urgent, right? So, what is the difference between someone who's achieving some goals versus someone who's not? Is how much urgency that person who decides to go after their goals does, right? And they make them goals. That's part of what making your dream come true is all about. It's turning the dream into a goal. And really, the only difference between a dream and a goal is a date. So get yourself a calendar to write down when you want something achieved. And then make that your goal. And if you're going to be that person who leaves the essay at the last minute, right? Well, okay. I mean, at least you had a goal to make it happen and you did something about it, even if it was last minute. Of course, we're not urging you to do that. We're urging you to set aside time every day, even if it's like a little bit of time. But moving the needle forward requires you to be disciplined and diligent on doing something of that sort, right? And this actually is a great point into creativity, what you were talking about, Jason, because as one of our good friends named CJ Ortiz said, inspiration, true inspiration is perspiration, where we're having to always make creativity happen. True creativity is not the romantic idea that we all hear with the love stories and stuff like that. It's not as romantic. It's actually very much when you don't want to do it. And the difference between a professional and an amateur is that the professional does it when they don't want to, right? The amateur will always do it when they feel like it's good, like it's a good time, right? So if you want to make music your lifestyle, right, and making that your thing that you live off of, you can't think of it as a hobby. You can't think about it as, well, I'm going to do it when I feel like it. You have to do it even when you don't feel like it. And part of doing it that way is to schedule your time and to dedicate that time solely to making it happen, because you're not going to always feel inspired, but the clock is still ticking and we're not going to get that time back. So while you're bunkered down in your home, if you're in quarantine or wherever you are, you have to treat that time as valuable as anybody in history who was worth anything, like Plato or Homer or any of these great philosophers who've discussed about the value of a human life. And when you look back at these sort of figures in history, you'll realize that some of these people, actually most of these people, never had the amount of time that actually we could have in today's day and age. I think the average lifespan of people who are born in today's day and age is about up to 90 years. Back then, people were lucky if they lived to 40 to 50. So, you have more time to make things happen for yourself. So if you're in your 40s or 50s, in today's day and age, you still got another 40 years to go. Maybe even 50 years. Who knows? Maybe even 60 if you're lucky enough, right?
We're probably going to have a long time, man.
We got a long time, although it's not long. It's not that long because time flies, right? We're constantly in this sort of, we always say, hey, wow, it's 2020? Like, I remember when it was 2010. I remember when it was 2000. I remember when it was 1990, So time flies, and before you know it, you wake up and you got gray hair and you're just like, what the hell happened? So, sure, I'm speaking from experience right now. But I'm only trying to make a point here, right? And that if you have to give it that sacred value, right? You have to treat your music and your art as sacred, that deserves this time spent. that's going to help you propel. And by giving that uh, diligence to and that commitment to making, say, okay, look, I got some time here. I can fit this on a weekly schedule over here. I can fit this on a weekly schedule over here. So I could do practice time this here. I can do building my brand over here. Dedicate some time out of the week to doing these things. You will thank yourself later because you made a commitment to doing that. So there you go.
No, those are great points, man. And Ken, I remember last week when we were talking about what we were going to talk about this week. You said you said it, and you nailed it. You said treat your music as something sacred, and that's what you have to do, guys. You have to treat it as something sacred. But we want to get into our last 2 points here. We're gonna get into some more practical steps that you can take with your time. And again, these like the things we're talking about. I know we labeled this as what to do during the pandemic because some of you do have more time on your hands than others, but I don't want you to think that if because the pandemic maybe didn't affect some of you, maybe your job is still going. I mean, if you work for places like Amazon, then you're probably working more. You know what I mean? But what I want to say though is I don't want you to look at this if you're one of those who you're still working the same amount of hours and stuff. I still want you to take these tips to heart because you still need to put this time in there for your music. You've got to create that time. I know that can be a little bit more challenging. So the next thing though, when you do have extra time, especially like this, the next thing you can do is master the gear that you have. And this is something I myself have been guilty of. I like to share my failures with you guys. Um, but this is something I have been guilty of. Like I work in PreSonus Studio One, for example. That's my DAW. That's my recording software. Guys, I probably use 20% of its capabilities. And to be honest with you, there's probably 80% of that program that I don't know. And I could probably make a lot more progress and maybe even faster progress if I were to take time to learn it better. So that's something I have vowed myself to do. So I want you guys to think about that when you have that extra time, is also schedule some time in there to master the equipment that you have. Could be a guitar amp. Maybe, you haven't really tested it thoroughly to see everything you can get out of it. But more than likely for most of you, it's gonna be your recording software, or it's gonna be things like your interface. Master that. Watch some videos of other experts that have already gone through the process, and just or go to the site itself, or go to their YouTube channel. Like PreSonus has a YouTube channel. I'm sure the other software providers have channels and forums and stuff like that. But my point is just to learn your gear as much as you possibly can, because then when you sit down to create your music, it's going to be that much smoother and go that much faster for you if you just take time to really dig in and learn how to use your gear. And things like the pandemic that we have right now, if you've got that time, this is the perfect time to do that. Heck, spend 2 or 3 hours a day on that for a week,
Right.
and you'll be surprised. You'll be like, wow, I know how to use my software program much better now.
Yeah, you make a fantastic point, and there are resources out there like Skillshare and
That's right. Yeah.
LinkedIn Learning. You can, for like a small fee a month, you can like commit to developing your skill set on something that you really want to do. By the way, guys, if you're here on Metal Mastermind, you're already working on building your skill set and working on your mentality and working on your music, right? So
Yep.
that if you're here, give yourself a pat on the back because you're doing something about it. And that is important to recognize. I know sometimes we get a little lost that we're not doing enough. I've certainly been guilty of it. And it's just, it's not fun when you start comparing yourself to other people who are a little further down the road. And don't worry about that. One thing I actually did recently, I talked about this with Jason before we got online, was actually purge my entire Facebook of things I just didn't want to see.
Great. Yeah.
And I just said, okay, I only basically want to see the motivational stuff that I like, and all of the courses that I've been taking. I want to see that stuff. I don't care about Jennifer Schlodinger, who I haven't seen since freaking high school. You know, it's like I don't
Who cares?
really,
Yeah.
I don't really care about other people's lives and how they're doing in comparison to what I'm doing now, because on a subconscious level, everybody compares himself, right? So, and
We all
even
do.
if you're doing really well, you usually compare yourself in a more superior way, right? Which is ego. So it's all, and it's all poison in my book. You don't want to compare yourself to others to justify or make excuses, right? We're all on our own boat, on our own journey, and to get to the promised land, right? We're all going to take different routes, and that's okay. Nobody's going to be as efficient as somebody who's been doing it for a very long time, right? If you just started, you're not going to be on the same level as Jeff Bezos, right? So, if that's what I'm trying to say is, when you're taking your craft as seriously as you intend to make your music, right? You are basically committing to saying, look, I'm going to get better one way or another. 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, an hour a day, 2 hours a day, however much time you can dedicate to doing that, a little bit a day, even if it's like listening to a podcast will help, because just switching on the mindset, changing the habits, right? Because we're creatures of habit. So if you can change the habits from day to day, that's going to make a tremendous impact on the long run, because that, again, it's like the little dial, the little needle is pushing forward, right? So how much are you pressing the gas to go forward? And every little bit counts, right? If you can switch up a habit that will, let's say, make you live a healthier life, okay, I'm going to drink protein shakes before I work out, right? So if you haven't been doing protein shakes before you work out, just adding the protein shake will help increase your gains, right? So things like that, little things and habits that make an impact on a daily basis. Really, that's like, I feel like that's where it is. That's where it is. It's the habitual mindset, because anything that's like instantaneous that can go away and you don't make it any sort of habit, then it's not going to stay. It's not going to have longevity, right? So start if you feel like you have this sort of mentality of maybe you beat yourself up more than you feel like you beat yourself up more than you should, right? Even though you don't want to, sometimes it's unavoidable. There is a real thing called depression. I know. So getting on this sort of idea, what am I trying to point out is, make the small little changes to help make your day a little bit more productive, right? And reward yourself at the end of the day. If you've done good things for your dream, for your music, then yeah, you have earned your time to watch Netflix. You have earned your time to play a video game. You have earned your time to watch some TV or
Or to
drink
have a
beer.
beer.
Right? So making that a habitual thing will help to make the process easier, because now it's in your routine, and we love routine. That's what I mean.
Absolutely. No, those are some very good points, Ken. The last thing we want to share, kind of along the same lines as what we're talking about, is another thing you can do with your time. And again, it doesn't matter pandemic or not. This is something that you really need to do if you're serious about pushing yourself forward as a musician and doing something greater, than just playing in your bedroom at
Right.
home. You can also take that time to develop your music marketing skills. Now, I know when I say marketing, because I don't like the word marketing, I still really don't, because it sounds salesy to me,
Yeah.
and we're not wired that way. But marketing is a skill. Marketing and promoting is a skill that you have to develop as a musician,
Mhm.
unless you plan to jump under some big label, but then you run the risk of them taking. People get screwed over by labels, and I think all you guys know that. Doesn't mean they're all bad. There's that side of it, and then chances are, starting out, you're probably gonna get that chance to be on a label, especially if you're just starting out now. And a lot of you don't really want to do that. So why not take the marketing aspect into your own hands where you control that, not someone else, and then you get those profits based on your efforts and your knowledge that you've spent learning how to do it. And
Yep.
that's another thing that Ken and I are going to get deeper into as time goes on. We're always in the process of developing live sessions like this, like what are we going to talk about this time, and creating videos. I know you guys have seen a lot of the videos we've put out that are not live, but we are going to be talking about marketing your music more effectively and giving you some tips on that. But three quick things you can do to develop your marketing skills. One is learn how to create and manage your artist or band website. So I'm going to put a link out there right now for you guys. So I just put that out there. That's actually a blog post on metalmastermind.com. You can go there and read through that. It's lengthy, I'm not going to lie, but read it and then go back and read it a second time, because that's going to give you everything you need to know to start to build your own website if you don't have it already. Or if you already have a website, then it's going to help you better structure that site so that it's more effective for the reader. Secondly, after learning to build your own website and getting that started, is learn how to build the right audience. So what I encourage all of you to do, if you're on Facebook, and I know I'm on YouTube. I shouldn't say Facebook on YouTube because they're not friends. But no, seriously, if you're on Facebook, create a business account. Like, do that today. Just there's several videos on how to do that. And Ken, maybe you and I will put something out in the future, but you can just look up how to create a business account. Create a business account on Facebook. Look up how to create a business account 2020 so you get the recent version of it. But it's very easy. Create a business account on your Facebook page, and put yourself down as a musician, artist, or band. I forget what the options are, but the relevant one will be there. You'll see it, and just go through that process. And that's your music page, okay? And I will say this: that's the page you want to spend most of your time on, not your personal Facebook page. Personal Facebook page, to me, like I said, don't really even use it that much, because if something doesn't add value to what you're doing with your life, to what you want to pursue, minimize the time you spend on that. I'll just leave it at that. So learn how to build the right audience. But you need that page. I know some of you have a YouTube channel as well. So start reaching out to people and doing that. And Faceless, I know I'm not a big fan of Facebook either, to be honest with you.
Same here.
If I had to choose, I would choose YouTube all day, every day over Facebook, because YouTube is just a little bit more friendly to people who want longevity, right?
Mhm.
Because Google and YouTube are one and the same. We have blogs on our website, so that's Google. Google's picking our blog post up, and we're starting to get some traction on that, which is awesome. The thing about Facebook is you kind of had to pay to play, but it's still a good place to create an audience. It's still a good place to, because a lot of people are on there. So what I recommend doing is kind of taking your emotion out of that. Take and if you have, I don't know if you had to have Facebook to do Instagram. I don't know how that works, but I would just try to take your emotion out of all that and just find out where your audience is, and then be there for them. Now, and Faceless, I'm going to harp on your point here. Faceless says we don't like Facebook. That's okay. If that's truly the case and you're dead set against Facebook, then choose a social platform, because social is where it's at, whether it's YouTube or IG or whatever. I think you can make your Instagram account a business account as well. So do that. I strongly suggest doing that. But you want to create that business account for your music yourself as an artist, and push that. Learn how to build your audience. Ken and I are going to be putting some stuff out there. Real quick, the third thing is also study other bands and independent artists to learn how to promote your music effectively. Look at my website. Go to jasonstallworth.com. Look at Ken's website, homeric.com. You can look at our pages, because Ken and I have been through we've been through probably what is equivalent to a master's degree for promoting and marketing our music. And we'll share some more about that later down the road as we continue to build this. We're kind of wrapping things together and how we want to present certain things to you to really help you. But study other bands, especially independent artists, and see what they're doing. One thing I will tell you, and I'll give this back to Ken here because I know you've got some stuff to add too. But Ken talked about how he cleaned his social media out. Guys, on your social media, only follow people, bands, and businesses or whatever it is that cater to your niche, that cater to what you want to go, what you want to do with your life and with your music. If it doesn't pertain to that, why bother following it? And if you're on Facebook, set your notifications to where you're seeing the important stuff you need to see first. And important stuff is not news or politics. That will always be there. It will always be an issue. So I would, if you're into that sort of thing, I would get out of it and focus more on your music. But set your social profiles up to where you're seeing what you really need to see that's going to pertain to you pushing yourself forward first, and get rid of the other stuff. Don't worry about the other stuff.
Yeah, man. Let me just say this on the whole social media thing. It gets daunting if you are trying to juggle Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Focus on one and get really good at one. Because if you're finding your audience on Facebook or you're finding your audience on Twitter, that's where they are. And you need to put your attention there more so than any of the other platforms. Like, for example, I was putting content on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I even made a Snapchat, and it was just like, I don't even use Snapchat. I hate Snapchat.
So much, dude. Yeah.
It's like, and I felt like I was dedicating way too much time that I just didn't want to do. And I was just like, and my content was lackluster because it wasn't, I didn't focus on my audience on the platform where they were actually at. And it's just, it becomes a mess, is what I'm saying. So focus on one, right? Like right here on Metal Mastermind, we just do YouTube. Yeah, like YouTube is where we're at, and that's what we're going to be building. So
we'll probably never be on Facebook, to be honest with you, right, Ken? We probably won't even be on Instagram, I don't think.
Well, I wouldn't say that we wouldn't be there at all. I think we'll have our own presence there for our own reasons, but we would use the platform as a tool. And here's the thing, on that note, people give places like Facebook a bad rep for wasting time, which is true. You can waste a lot of time on Facebook. But here's the thing, if you curate Facebook a certain way that actually helps your productivity, Facebook can actually be a tool to help boost what you're trying to do. Jason mentioned, and I mentioned it before about me filtering my content on Facebook. And now all I really see is the content that I want. And that content is very motivational, gives me insight on how to do certain tasks that I've been asking, the longest of time on how to do. So I'm getting the information that I want, right? And yeah, politics will always be there. So definitely agree with that. But it's, if you find that you're wasting time on these platforms, what's the reason? Why are you wasting time? Is it because you're looking at people who you don't care? Is it blogs that talk about pandas? I don't know. It's just...
Hey, I like pandas, dude.
I like pandas too, but pandas aren't going to make my music blow up unless I guess I'm wearing a panda suit. Maybe that'll help.
Metal panda, the metal panda.
Metal panda, dude. So...
death metal panda.
Yeah. And... honestly, I see TikTok here in the comments, and TikTok actually has been very fortunate to musicians in some way, shape, or form. But again, if your audience is on TikTok, then utilize TikTok, right? If your audience is on
find
Facebook,
out where they're at.
Experiment. If you are not dead set on using a certain platform, experiment and see where you find your best skills at. You might be really good at doing skits on TikTok. Me, I tend to be more of a long form, more
That's us, dude. Yeah.
philosophical type of dude. So
Yeah.
YouTube is way better for that.
YouTube's
I
way better for
can't,
that.
TikTok is like, it's almost like one of those, like, it needs to be fast and, snappy kind of vibes. And I'm just not really that kind of person. So I don't really focus on TikTok. That's not my specialty. YouTube is definitely more in line. So focus on your attention where you feel it is most, I guess, elevated, right?
Yeah.
So, marketing is not the prettiest thing, but it is literally 50% of the success. So
It truly is.
it
Yeah.
really is. Companies spend 50% of their entire budget just on marketing
Yeah.
because it is that important, right?
Brand awareness, man.
Brand awareness.
Yeah.
Think of a company like, for example, Dyson, right? You look at
Yeah.
Dyson, you're just like, dude, yeah, that is the vacuum cleaner, right? And
I thought you said Tyson. I was thinking about the hot dogs. No, you said Dyson. Okay.
or Nathan's hot dogs. There you go.
Oh, those are good, dude. Man.
That's marketing and branding right there. So, exactly. So, why are they so good at their brand? Well, because they paid attention to that type of stuff. Or Band-Aid, for example, is not even
Yeah.
It's not even called a Band-Aid. It's a
It's not.
bandage.
It's an adhesive bandage.
It's an adhesive bandage, but people say, "Let me get a Band-Aid."
Kleenex.
Or
Kleenex.
Kleenex.
Same thing, right?
Yeah, let me get a Kleenex.
Yeah.
Let me get a Pampers, right? Those
Right.
are all
Kleenex, yeah.
brands. They're not the actual item. So, or Q-tip. Just many examples. So
And that's what you want to go after, guys. You want to go after that. You want to go after, like, when people hear about you, they automatically think of that culture of what you're putting out there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They're not having to dig for it. Those are good examples, Ken. And I think we got that from one of CJ's things,
Yeah,
the metal
definitely.
motivator, good friend of ours. But yeah, no, and that's branding though. I mean, people don't say, "Hey, I'm gonna go to my search engine and look something up." No, they say, "Google it."
Right.
Wow. How powerful is that? You know what I mean? And oftentimes when people, even with soda, people's like, "Hey, I want a Coke." They could be talking about Pepsi or talking about Dr. Pepper, whatever, but the soda is associated with Coke because Coke is such a big brand. And I'm
Yeah.
not talking about that kind of Coke. I'm talking about the cookie drink, but yeah.
Yeah, dude. Exactly. So what? The entire premise of your music needs to reflect who you are, like as a person, and what you stand for. So that's what branding is. It's not like the imagery, the logo. It's none of that. That all helps, but it's really what people think when they hear your name, your music,
Yeah.
right? It's what surrounds that. What's the ideal that is attached to your music? And for example, when you listen to Jason Stallworth music, most of the time, I get the idea that I should be in a gym and working out to this type of stuff, and that helps with getting my focus, on the workout. So when it comes to something like, Homeric, well, Homeric is more of like theatrical, and you want to like typically like be sitting down and just focusing your attention on that, right? It's a very cinematic experience. So what do you think about when you hear a certain type of music, and when you listen to any artist, right? Think about your favorite artist. Start there. Why?
Yeah.
What do you think about when you hear your favorite artist's name? What are the sort of ideals that come out of that, right? What do they stand for? Things like that. Those really help. And if you're analyzing artists that are similar to yours, you can help draw from that inspiration
Absolutely, yeah.
to help build your image a little better, or your brand, I should say, a little better. And it takes research, it takes time, and you need to dedicate that time. And that's part of that time management, right? If you're all, look, we all want to just make music, right? But the fact of the matter is that in today's day and age, the music is not enough. People want to get to know the artist behind the music, which is unfortunately, in a way, what makes an artist successful. It's really their interaction with their fans on a daily basis. And when somebody is watching artists on Facebook or YouTube and they constantly have this relationship with that person, they're more likely to support that artist because they have that sort of feeling that they can actually make a difference instead of just buying and consuming. So I honestly feel that way, and I think the trend has really proven that. Right? When you create content on YouTube, like for example, like Jason and I, we're both musicians and we make music all the time, but what are we doing today? We're doing Metal Mastermind, and Metal Mastermind is a way to help serve our cause for our music, but it's also a way to provide you with other entertainment, right? That's why you're here. You're here you feel like you want to learn, you want to be entertained, right? And you want to make a difference. So we hope to inspire you in that sense. And that's our job here at Metal Mastermind.
It's our job, dude. We take it seriously. You're right. And then, like I said in the beginning, our videos, and I know like we go an hour with our live sessions, but even if you pick up one golden nugget from a video, it's kind of like reading a book. I read quite a few books, and sometimes I read the book and they're good, but there'll be that one thing out of that book that's like, oh wow, that was like a revelation, and you go put that into
Sure.
action, and it just changes everything for you. So that's what we really hope for. Yeah, we want to provide you some entertainment, tell some bad puns, and and we do some serious stuff like this sometimes. Next week we'll probably have more of a fun. I remember last week's live was really lighthearted. We're talking about the subgenres of metal, which was like, whoa, this is cool. This one was a little bit more heavy, no pun intended, but I think the things we discussed today, we really, I really hope it helped. I mean, Ken and I both hope that really this information helps you and helps you push forward. Sometimes we'll do videos like this, and we're going to get deeper into some stuff that kind of push you a little more out
Yeah,
of your comfort zone.
absolutely.
And that's part of our job as well. Yeah, we're entertaining. We want to be here and help you, but we're also going to give you that little push out of the comfort zone. It's like, okay, you got to take that next step. And we're going to hold you guys accountable. All right. We will hold you accountable. So there's no backing down. You're in this for the long haul. It's your music, it's your legacy, and we're gonna help push you forward. So
Yep.
Ken,
Well,
any closing thoughts, dude?
hey, look, if this is what you feel like you want to do in doing music, then it should be a no-brainer. It should
Yeah.
be, yeah, okay, I'm going to do what it takes to make it happen because this is what I feel is my calling. If you're doing music because it's a hobby, then this won't resonate as well.
No, it's not gonna resonate.
It's not going to resonate. So, um, but let me say this real quick. Even despite, you know, any sort of obstacle in your way, right? If you truly want to make something happen, you feel compelled to do it. Doesn't matter if you had, like for example, in a situation where I had a whole entire band and I had to fire them, and that hurt me so much.
Ooh,
And I
yeah.
still said to myself, I don't want to give up. Like, if I gave up, that would be the worst thing to my to ever to myself. It would be quitting on myself, essentially, if I did that. Because I feel compelled to make more music. I can't stop. So I keep pushing forward and I find a way, you know? And that's what you would do because you need it to do. And I hope that, if you're thinking in that way, then you'll be fine. You will be fine. You'll find a way to make it happen. And we're here to help guide you in that direction. We may not have all the answers, but we know a thing or two. And we can
We know a little
definitely
bit, man.
give you we can definitely give you some advice and point you in the right direction. And if we don't know something, we'll tell you where to go. So we care that you take yourself seriously, and
Yeah.
we care that whatever information we give you, it helps you do whatever it is you need to do. So with that, just remember that we also have, most of you have already signed up for this, but we have our own like free guide on building a home studio. And honestly, this is the perfect time to work on your studio.
Dude.
It's the pandemic, man.
Yeah.
You're at home. This is the perfect time to work on your studio and kind of like fiddle around with the gear, making it more optimal and all that kind of stuff. So check it out on metalmastermind.com/join. It's a free,
just put it out there in the comments,
guide.
guys, too.
Yeah, the ultimate quick guide to the home studio. It'll help you start, and if you already got something going, it'll give you the information you need to improve what you've got. So it's free. Take it as you will and look at it. And if you got questions, feel free to email us. hornsup@metalmastermind.com. That's our email address. So that's about it, folks. That's what I got. Anything else, Jason?
No, just go on our YouTube channel after this and watch some of the videos we just put out. Ken just put out a really awesome plugin video just 2 days ago on Monday. It's the Fairchild. So it's a mastering plugin, right, Ken? I'm not even
it's just a compressor, although it is very much used for mastering in many times.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you guys that's got a lot of meat and potatoes in that video. And then we also have another video we put out last Friday. So go back and watch those, guys. Leave a comment, share those videos, please. And then we've got another video coming out this Friday. I forgot what it's about, but I know I've got to finish editing it, so I'm going to do that. And so we're putting out a buttload of content. So from blog posts to YouTube videos. So just pay attention to your little notifications. Make sure your notification is on. Like right now, make sure the notification is on. Yes, I get, Metal Mastermind notifications when the videos are published. And, please share the content when you see it, guys. Please share that. If you're using Facebook, share it on that. If you're using Twitter or whatever, I don't even know all the platforms out there, but that just helps our channel a lot. And we really appreciate that. So that's the only thing we ask that you do. But yeah, guys, hope you have an awesome week.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more content from us.
Horns up.
Horns up, guys.
We'll see you all later.